That's what we have to explain.
Yeah. Is he still planning on trying to come?
As far as I know. He told me.
We don't know.
Oh,
I think already.
oh,
Yeah.
See if it stays on.
Yeah.
Just go around and find them.
Yep. Yeah.
We're live streaming. Now I just gotta get the recording. And there we go. Are we live streaming?
yeah.
America tell we're live streaming. I can't.
Yes, you are. I got my email.
Okay.
All right. We need to get started here. 24th Service Committee, 6 p.m. Started. We call the board.
Cosgray,
Present.
Foreman,
Present.
Schaffner.
We also have Mr. Already and Chuck Keller, Ranger Prairie, council people, and we've got the new village administrator I'd like to welcome.
Thank you.
Brian Holbrook, fiscal officer, mayor, and looks like we got a bunch of visitors.
Stan?
No,
Simon.
How are you? Good.
Scott's here.
Well, there's staff here.
Look at the service committee started. We've done roll call. The other village, administrator, fiscal officer.
I'm sorry, sir. It's a little hard to hear you. Can you
Okay.
speak up, please?
So it looks like we've got a fair amount of visitors. This is the service committee, so do we have visitors who would like to address the service committee?
I think after we hear proposals, yes.
You got
After you hear what?
After we hear proposals, yes.
I don't know what that means.
For the parking.
Oh, that's safety.
yeah. Vote on the minutes.
Right. that's what
Okay.
I'm getting at.
Okay.
So I'd like to get a,
We make the motion to approve the minutes of meeting.
You're right. I'll make that.
so we've got a motion to properly made to accept the meeting minutes from the last service.
We don't need to worry about that.
I'll make the correction.
Okay.
Yeah, it can be a scrivener's error.
All right, so we got a motion properly made and seconded. Roll call.
Foreman,
Yes.
Schaffner,
Yes.
and Cosgray.
Yes, we've got a motion made and seconded. We'll file the
You're right.
previous minutes as corrected. To the goals, we have a 5-year streets plan, wastewater plant, wastewater treatment plan, 5-year plan project. As we stated in the previous council meeting for service, we're making pretty good progress on all of those. Anybody have any questions on that? We can move on into the reports. There's some comments to the water report. Is that what you want to say on this?
Yeah, Scott's here getting a sample. He's gonna give us an update on the water and what we've done today. We've got some test results here. All right, Scott, where are you? I'm fine here. Yeah, is council fine with it?
All right, so just went to sample chlorine and the sink back there. And see it's dark pink, which is what the water should look like. Results here is what I sent to Mass site last week and this week. And this is for hardness, iron, and manganese. On the 7th, I sent off a test to Mass site for hardness, iron, and manganese. The hardness was 318. The iron was 0.05, and the manganese was 0.32.
Do we have reference ranges just for everybody?
Yes.
Wait a minute, was it 0.32 or 0.032?
0.032.
Zero, okay, yeah, that other zero I didn't hear.
So the 7-year maximum contaminant level for manganese is 0.05. Do you have those papers again? She's so when the EPA came and sampled, the manganese was at 0.173 and 0.181. I did some tests and I've had even higher than that in different locations of the city. But as of today and last week, it's substantially lower than what it was. We do believe that that is what was turning the schools' towns brown. That's what they had a problem with, was brown towels when they were doing their dishes and laundry and things like that. Manganese is an agent that will cause brown and black staining on pools, fixtures, sinks, things like that. And that is the reason that they don't want you to have that in water. It's not harmful to humans to drink it, but that's the reason why they have a limit, because it causes aesthetic issues with the water. The following week, I sent tests and I got 0.05 for manganese, but my hardness was down to 1.67. The week before that, the hardness was 318. So it's 318 milligrams per liter of hardness. The EPA wants you to have that under 200. Right now, my last result was 176. Sent 3 total college forms off on the 21st. All of them came back absent. I took one at the street shop, one here, and one at the Marathon Street. And the following weeks, I'm going to start taking tests at the high school and the middle school and different locations throughout the city and sending those off. But I'm sure that I'm going to get the same results back. The chlorine test I took here was 1.7 milligrams per liter and 1.18. So those are pretty good chlorine residuals for water.
What's the target on those?
About where it's at right now. That's pretty much my target. Sometimes it'll go up, sometimes it'll go down. The EPA's limit is 4, and they require that you have at least a 0.2.
And then, I don't know, also filming on pumps. What was going on with the pumps?
So, yeah, the EPA had an issue with the chemical feed pumps in the plant. They were each pumping at 100%, and that was still not enough to inject the chemical into the water. So we've ordered pumps that are double the capacity of those pumps, and we have them pumping right now it's at 25%. No, it's at 25% for the chlorine and 48% for the vanadium, which is where the EPA wants to go. They want to under 50%. That way, if you did have to increase production or put more chemicals into the water, you would be able to do that. So that's the reason why we're going to see better manganese removal and chlorinated water.
And then talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah, so we had some issues with some of the valves not working in the plant. These valves are designed to keep the plant fully automated so that there's not necessarily a need for somebody to be there 24/7, watching everything, turning every valve, operating the plant in sort of a manual mode. We're still not where we want to be as far as getting the automated portion of the plant running the way it should, but we did replace 4 chemical valves that were used to soften, that were used to regenerate the ion exchange units, which allowed them to soften the water. So those valves weren't working properly. We got them replaced. We still have an issue with 1 valve, and we have Tonka coming in to inspect all of their equipment. They're going to inspect the filter media. They're going to inspect the resin and ion exchange units. They're going to inspect all the valves. They're going to inspect their computer systems, and they're going to give us a list of things that they find to be effective, which I know is more than what I've already found to be effective because they're the experts. So if there is damage to the membranes, to the resin and the ion exchange units, we'll be expecting to get those replaced, as well as the
Those Vitalic valves.
are they what?
Vitalic.
Vitalic? No, they are they're called I forget the term for them. What do you mean by Vitalic?
Vitalic. That's a private fly valve.
Oh, yeah, they are.
How many wells do you operate and are they all operating?
So we have 3 wells. So far, we've only been operating on the well that's been set up to be operational while the previous operator was there. The other 2 wells we haven't got as far as even turning them on yet. We've been quite busy taking care of the other stuff, but that is on my list of things to do. You are supposed to rotate these wells. At other plants I work at, we would run 1 well a month, switch over to the other well, but that process hasn't been changed, mainly because I know when I pick one of these other wells, I'm gonna have to change the chemical dose, and I'm trying to get an adequate dose of the correct chemicals into the water right now with what I know, and then once I got then that's when I'll turn the other wells on. I'll see what's going on with them. But no, the other wells, there are 3 wells. It's designed for the other 2 wells to be run in tandem, whereas this well runs by itself. So once we get Tonka in, we'll turn those wells on.
Do we know how long it's been since those have been run?
From what I can see, that from when I started here and I was able to keep my own records and things that were done, they haven't been running for at least 6 months from what I understand. So yes, the magnet scale is fixed. We got it calibrated. It is working, and we are able to measure how much magnet we have right there.
And then so council knows, because we did respond to the EPA letter, my email back. They can't fully resolve the issues until they see some photographs and operational reports and have a monthly operational report. So it stays open right now. I think Scott also told him Tonka was coming in and stuff like that. So it technically, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, it stays open. And then what Scott does is April report and gets them a little more information after the Tonka visit, then they close.
Yeah, I've been in a regular conversation with the EPA and Mike Santone. I email him about once a week, and he's just curious as to operational status. Mainly he's glad that I'm keeping records of things that are going on. And yeah, he's interested in seeing what Tonka has when they come in and what we think they get from as well.
Excuse me. I just have a question. I've been noticing a very strong sulfur odor when I've been kicking on the water after it's not run for a long time. Would any of the chemicals that you've mentioned being within range have a contributing factor to the smell of sulfur, and is that going to go away?
If there was sulfur in the water, it could probably be because of an anaerobic condition of the water. Chlorine oxidizes the water, so when there's not chlorine in the water for an extended period of time, it doesn't get oxidized, and some of the gases in the water don't get released. So if there's chlorine being pumped to the water now, then yeah, you would get a whiff of maybe even
It's just straight sulfur, but
I haven't smelled any sulfur. I'll come take a look at it, but Is it something you experience recently or is it?
It's every day. We have to run the water for a couple minutes before it stops smelling.
Okay, no,
All right.
is anybody else experiencing that so far? Okay.
No,
Hot water, cold water, both.
it seems both.
Hot water, hot water tank and stuff as well, so if you get it in the cold waters where it becomes the area.
Well, we have a water softener as well, and we notice it even over that
Is it before the water softener or after?
after.
But you don't smell something before it hits your water softener?
Like, would we smell the water before our water softener?
Was it good outside?
I can't say last time we sniffed the hose, to be honest.
You got some plans to do. Some improvements on the chlorine going into the future.
This plans on increasing our chlorine capacity and changing the way we inject chlorine, but those are things that are just a little bit down the road. Right now, just focus on getting chemicals into the water and getting them pumped and getting things back to the way it should be. So far, we're meeting all the EPA standards with all the tests that I've sent out so far. I'm not getting anything negative back. I'm not exceeding any contaminant limits. So
Anybody have any questions?
Appreciate you coming back in.
thank you.
Keep up to the work.
Any other village departments?
Yeah, I do have another village department course. Brian just started his VA. Today's day one.
Yes,
Well,
it's not over there.
was it last week or the week before? We will, in the near future, be having a change in the operator of record at the wastewater plant. Jason Conrad has been our contract operator since 2021. Our wastewater plant requires a class 2. Brad's only a class 1 at this point. Jason's been coming in at 5 a.m. until 7 a.m. 5 days a week to do what he needs to do in our plant before he goes to his normal job. And I can't blame him. It's been a long couple of years. And so he let me know that he was going to work through the end of this month. But we've got plans in place. Brad has his class 2 test this Friday. We talked about before. Brad knows what he's doing with this plant because it's a membrane plant. There's not a lot around. And he's been around this one since, well, for quite a few years. The test is on a traditional plant, which without a lot of experience and hands-on stuff can sometimes be challenging. But he's planning on taking that test again Friday. Of course, if he passes, my plan would be to then have him step in as operator of record on May 1. We can operate for 1 month with Brad there since he does have an operator's license. So we don't need a class 2 operator until the end of May. Brad could, if he doesn't pass the test this Friday, take it again in a couple of weeks. And then Jason also gave us the name of another class 2 operator that's local to the area that would be willing to talk to us about doing the exact same that Jason's been doing for the past couple of years. Worst best case scenario is Brad gets butt on the test on Friday.
Right.
So that's the wastewater update. I haven't talked to Tim. Any street updates?
Talked to him this morning, I've been working over here.
I just know that Tim's been helping Scott
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Dylan's been helping Peg Mom.
Patch in an alley or something.
Yes.
Are we expecting to hire people?
Yes. We can talk about that now because Brian and I were talking about that today. Post. From what I can tell you, one full-time laborer and one seasonal that works with Peg in the mowing.
We already know who that person is.
Yeah, Byron's coming back.
Okay, so we're not gonna post that.
No, you don't have to post
We just gotta
that.
post
Byron
it.
wants to come back again this summer.
Okay, good. So we can get that, Brian and Brian can work on that
Full-time position.
full-time, get that posted tomorrow.
Move on to Parks and Rec Board. Nothing. The BRC meeting.
Not this time. Okay.
Move on to what the old business is, the East Side Drainage Project. I know V3's been working on that. And no.
I haven't heard.
On that.
I haven't heard.
I haven't, last, we heard they were still working on getting all this stuff to make contact with everyone on it. And I was just looking through emails. I haven't seen anything from them.
I've talked to several residents. Nobody's been contacted.
All right, so we'll want to follow up and make sure B3 got those letters out.
On to new business, which is a resolution. 2308 for funding. Is there
Huh?
Need a sponsor coming to committee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this one dealing with the rescue plan money?
Right.
Yeah, I learned this last month when I attended a local governments conference that we need to pass this resolution we're implementing the standard allowance. When you, if we, basically, let me pull that up. Should I get my mouth through the print? There's 4 categories you can use. Primary categories for eligible uses of the rescue plan monies are respond to public health emergency or its negative economic impacts, premium pay to essential workers, revenue loss provisions of government services. And the only people that qualify for that are those governments like us that got less than $10 million from the federal government. There's a lot of calculations involved for those that like Fairfield County, they got in excess of $10 million. They couldn't take that. Well, they could take it, but they have to do a lot of calculations. And of course, investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. But we qualify, and we signed up when I filled out information last year, it's standard allowance. As you can see in standard allowance, you can use the money for construction of schools and hospitals, road building, maintenance, and other infrastructure, aka water and sewer projects, like we're going to plan on using the money for. General government administration, staff, and administrative facilities, which we're not doing, health services, environmental remediation, and provisions of police, fire, and other public safety. They qualify for that other than the police department, but we're concentrating ours on water and sewer. Federal government give us, we got 2 tranches back, 1 tranche back in 2021, and we got our 2nd tranche of money last June. So we had got so far, we received a total of $336,000 in federal rescue plan money. You have until obligate the money by the end of next year and fully pay, spend all of it by the end of 2026. But the key kicker is you just can't write checks and you have to have it obligated. So this resolution that I passed authorizes for the standard division, which will allow us to use the money for the water and sewer infrastructure projects that we want to do. We're going to use part of our money because the county kicked in $600,000 to run a brand new water line up Washington Street. So we're going to use some of our money for that, and whatever's left, we'll just use for other infrastructure projects. We have to pass that. And the other thing with this after that is every time we use rescue plan money on any kind of a project, we have to have a corresponding resolution. So we're going to see more and more resolutions whenever we spend the rescue plan money up in the future. And it has to reference this resolution. So an example, if a township adopted the standard allowance by way of resolution 22-1, every time the township spends ARPA monies, it must pass a resolution stating that ARPA funds are being used for the performance of, what we're doing it for here, and refer back to this resolution. So I need this one passed first. And then whenever we sign contracts for the Washington Street project this summer, we're going to have another resolution authorizing and make reference to this resolution. Does that make sense? Leave it to the federal government to make things complicated.
Red tape.
Red tape, yes.
It's the end of April, and we don't know when the other stuff might be coming. And the
We
emergency.
need a sponsor out of committee for sending a resolution to the council.
So, want to make a motion to forward this resolution to council.
Second. All right, so we do, roll call, all in favor?
Go ahead, that's fine, you can do
All
it
in
that way.
favor, say aye. Aye, unanimous. So, we'll send the resolution to council from service.
Didn't make your agenda, you don't have to amend your agenda, but late this afternoon, we got 2023-09 from Jeff, which is the contract with PK Layer. They were a successful bidder on our North Granville Street water line improvement project. The other reason 2023-08 is passed is 09.
No, that 09 deals with OPWC.
That's the OPWC, yeah. So we got the contract. They got the bid spec right there. They were awarded it. So now we just have to do the contract so they can get mobilized and get started.
Yeah, it has to pass tonight. The emergency language.
It's emergency language, go into,
Take effect immediately or
so it can
on first reading?
so it can take effect immediately, but I don't know when they want to get started on it. I mean, I guess we could go to a second reading and I'll find out if it needs passed.
We know it's not the next 2 weeks, so it can stay on for a second.
Yeah.
So for any other,
Bring in somebody. Yeah, former sponsor that.
You gonna make motion to take it to
Motion to take this resolution.
so motion properly made to forward to the council and properly seconded, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Unanimous consent. We're gonna send that up to council.
We've got the resolution for the public funds.
Bid.
So we can talk about the first one. Is it emergency language? And is it-
ARPA funds.
Yeah, that's what Brian was saying.
It's got to go tonight.
It's got to go tonight.
New business, any other new business? I'll entertain a motion. Our next meeting will be held fourth Monday of May 22nd at 6 p.m.
Foreman makes a motion to adjourn.
Motion properly made and seconded, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Committee adjourned. All right, so we got the resolution from ARPA fund. We got the contract for grant.
Someone else is speaking. I guess I'll just change that sheet to safety.
Yeah, we
When you first get there, your mission is to find the car.
All right, so we're ready. We're gonna go ahead and get the meeting started. So roll call, please.
McCreary,
Present.
Keller,
Present.
Reedy.
Present. Also in attendance, we have council members, we have Foreman, Reedy, Schaffner, and Cosgray, and we also have Chief, our new VA, again, welcome, and fiscal officer. All right, so approval of minutes,
I move that we accept the minutes of March 27th.
3 seconds. Thank you. All right, visitors, we have a lot of visitors. Oh, I'm so sorry. So we need to have a vote on that thing. ready to move on to this.
Okay, Keller,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
McCreary.
Yes. Okay, now, we have a lot of visitors here this evening, so thank you for coming in. How would we like to proceed with this? Go ahead and call, should I get a list?
So, yeah, we read the ordinance so they know, because they wanted to hear what it said, I think. So I think we read the ordinance so they hear what it says, and then they have an opportunity to comment on it.
Well, usually visitors come out.
I figured. they would-
But while she's getting the list, so council rules allow visitors 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes to speak. You just have to identify yourself, you give you 5 minutes. I believe the council rules stop at 30 minutes on the same subject. So that would be-
Yeah, take notes.
Unless the chair decides to extend that. And so,
Okay, and I'm assuming everybody's here to speak in regards to the parking.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go down the list.
Not everybody.
Okay. So I'm gonna go down the list. So I'm gonna start, and pardon me if I mispronounce your name, but I believe the first person there was Joe Fuller. Okay, would you like to go ahead and speak? I'm just going down the list.
I'm here today, speeders, after school hours, down Washington Street. My after school hours, we've got these kids that's racing down Washington Street towards Basel. We tried to address it with one of the officers at the laundromat. And her statement to me was, or to my wife, was, well, kids will be kids. After she was asked to monitor that. School's almost getting ready to let out. That's when she spoke to me about it. She was sitting in front of the laundromat and she made a statement, kids will be kids. I'm here to meet somebody. Well, she met nobody at that point and she left. And then sure enough, kids racing down the street at high speeds. It's very unsafe. Well, we got grandkids right there in the corner playing outside and it's just not acceptable. That's one issue. Another issue is parking. Jen and I was here a few meetings ago, maybe a month ago or so, and about parking in the alleys. They're off of Basel, North Basel Street. There's an alley dead ends, and my understanding, they were the people that's parking there was told that they were told that they were allowed to park in the alley.
Are you, I'm sorry, are you talking about the one that goes from Basel Street west?
Yes. Was the address is 309 North Basel. It's the alley runs next to that. There was a big altercation 2 days ago between two neighbors next to the alley there regarding them parking their big truck and blocking another person's ability to get medical care into their home. And it was just a big shouting match. Something's going to happen if we don't resolve this.
I'm sorry, because now I don't think you're where I am. You are down. You know where I am.
You know where we live, the house, you know, Ocean's house, the little white one there, there's the alley.
I saw the application, so I think I know where you are.
That's
So
where
somebody
it
is
is.
parking in that alley?
There's a big budget.
You park a big truck and it's tearing up the alley. It's a work truck, which
Does it impact visibility as well?
it does. It's parked partially on now. when they back it up another driveway. If they don't park in the driveway, they pull it at the dead end. Well, then that black blocks our access to our easement for the back of our property. So, I mean, that's really all I have. Right now, I'm listening to anything else, John? No? Questions?
Did the truck, because I was told that there was a conversation with the person that drove the truck and that they were stopped parking in and out. Did it stop for a while and restart again?
Yes, it stopped for a while and it's restarted.
But now he's parking his personal truck there and still blocking it.
But then now he's parking his big truck and his, next to his garage. However, that's blocking the other neighbors from getting in and out of their driveway.
This came up at a PUD meeting. as well. Yeah. And so we had it addressed, but apparently we hadn't heard anything for a month or so, and then it's started again. Okay.
Yeah, we were told by the people that's parking in now, and the Tim Little told them that they could park in now. So that's what the people that's actually doing the parking told us.
Yes.
Yes.
Zach.
So,
You should know better.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. All right, I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I do not want to mispronounce your last name. Rebecca
Tebow.
Tebow?
Emily's gonna come up.
Okay.
I'd actually like to hear what we're having planned for the parking on Market Street before I speak.
What's been proposed?
The ordinance, I've got it right here.
Mayor's going to read it.
The ordinance says the village's traffic control map is hereby amended to provide for the following: erection of 1 hour maximum parking signs at the intersection of Walnut Street and Market Street.
All right. Yeah, I guess.
That's all it is.
So that's all the information you've given us is the corner of that street, that intersection? How far up Market or Walnut Street are you proposing 1 hour parking?
I believe the original motion was 100 feet.
Okay. And why is the 22 spaces up this street not appropriate? You're encroaching on our only places to park when we've already had a ton of problems parking on Sundays, on weeknights when the churches are doing activities.
What's your address so I know where you're at?
114 North Walnut, I'm smack in the middle.
Okay.
We constantly have problems with parking on Sundays and on weeknights. Churches take up all of our spaces. We come home on a Sunday morning, can't even park in front of my street, in front of my house, can't park. Awesome. Now you guys want to push all of the residents from that corner up even further into our street. I can't have guests come over for an extended period of time. I can't have my family come over for an extended period of time. I don't understand why you guys feel this is necessary for a business who has adequate parking.
I take it from your comments, then you don't have off-street parking available?
There's none, sir, none on our street.
Okay.
None of us.
none
So you're just constantly making it harder and harder for us to do absolutely anything with our lives. You're not helping us solve the problem with the church. I'm happy to live next to two churches. The church at the corner right here is very respectful to us. They've used their own parking lot, their own infrastructure. And all you guys do, instead of planning more parking infrastructure, making the streets out here safer and wider so cars aren't constantly getting smacked on the corner of 158. I see no infrastructure improvements and just policy change. That doesn't help us at all.
I've had 3 meetings about downtown business parking
Okay,
to try to address that.
and I've lived here.
Okay.
Okay,
And so I don't think it's fair to say we have a parking problem.
absolutely. But you can't force the residents out of their parking spots.
And that's why you're here. To make sure
Absolutely.
everybody's aware of the impact of the potential changes.
So what are you guys proposing as options for the residents around it? Are you
Well, if I can speak, if I may. So I think it was proposed. So everybody being here helps to provide information for us to make a better decision. So if you don't mind, is it appropriate that I go down through here to find out how many people here do not have off-street parking? Can I do that? on this list?
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so, Mrs. Tebow, no off-street parking, and you do also, you're at the same residence, so, okay, so no off-street
So
parking.
two vehicles.
Okay, two vehicles, two
Right.
cars, okay, because this is gonna help. How about Mr. Skeen, 115?
I have a spot for one vehicle off street and I
Okay,
have three vehicles.
so one off.
And he has 3 vehicles.
And it's in his alley.
Okay.
It's in the alley.
Mr. McLean,
I do have all three parking.
okay, I believe I know where you reside,
Yes, I'm in the brick house next to the.
okay, and I think 4 cars? You're parking back there?
Because, so I have, two sons that are in the army and their home of residence is my house. So when they are home, they will park their vehicles generally in the street. One of them's home right now, so he's working there. But, I told him to park out back for the time being. He's getting shipped off to Fort Bliss later this week, so that's sad for us, but, he's taking his car with him, so that'll help. But yes, I have 3 vehicles at that point.
Again, this just kind of gives us an idea. Michelle Byers,
We don't have any.
okay, thank you. 2 cars,
What's the quick address?
120 West Market.
Okay. I've got the Google Maps up as well, so I'm looking to see. Okay.
Jessica McWilliams?
Yeah, I live at 120.
Okay, all right, and then any additional cars, or is that one of the 2? Gotcha, okay. All right, and then we have Mr. Long? Okay,
2 vehicles, me and my son.
okay, and it's all on-street parking, sir? Okay.
Which address are you at?
121.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, and then Mr. Kenny? Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, so all of this information helps us to make
It is.
an informed decision. So understand when someone brings an issue to the council, we have to take what they bring us. And then by you being here, you're countering that. So you're bringing your information to us. So that helps. That's what we need. So beyond that, it's going to take more discussion and safety. I know we're going to talk about it.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
To whomever was it 121?
Yes,
Mr. Long, he's right here on the corner,
Okay, yeah.
adjacent.
I didn't hear how many vehicles you had.
2.
2. And is that your driveway in the back? You've got off street?
No,
No, he has no off-street parking.
none. It's a duplex, top and bottom,
So the people that live in the other park in the back?
and the top part in the back.
Okay.
Yes.
And that was my confusion because the map shows a driveway right there, but I guess I
You have to
didn't realize
understand,
or forgot that was a
I
duplex.
literally have a son, 23 years old, that just had a lung collapse. And we're gonna ask him to park 2 blocks up the street from his house. I don't get it. These ladies have 2 very small children. How old are they?
3 and 5.
3 and 5. And they're gonna have to park away.
It's not very
Small
safe.
business, I love. I had my
At
own.
least it's right in front of us.
I had my own for 12 years here in town. Rick, you know that. It was my responsibility as a business owner to figure out if I had ample. It is not on the residents of Baltimore. We're paying taxes, we're paying village water. Seriously. My Lord, this is crazy. 1 hour parking, I've got to go out and move my car. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to park in front of that business. Come
I'll
on,
park on my yard. That's not very pretty. I bet you guys don't want that.
seriously.
Well,
This is
let's
crazy.
not turn it into a derogatory. If
No,
you do this,
I'm
I'll
not
do-
trying to be
That's what that
derogatory.
was.
No,
I'll park on my yard. You don't want that. It's petty. We're trying to gather the information so we can have an informed decision. I see
don't
what you're
talk to
saying.
me like we're petty. That's ridiculous.
We're being the
This
ones
is
that are
crazy.
being encroached on right now, sir.
Like
So I
I
guess you
said.
should expect a little bit of defensiveness, and I
Yes.
apologize for that.
My son literally just had a collapsed lung and he's got to park 2 blocks up the road because of Farmhouse Cafe. I promote small business, but it's their responsibility to make sure they have ample parking. Rick, you have your own business. You made sure you have parking. I had my own.
Forced to do that, but okay.
Right. But you did it. Not on that stores.
So I appreciate all the information that you brought here. We also have had some meetings that have been public meetings, trying to just kind of make people aware of the situation. Now, that was in regards to, make sure this doesn't die. That was in regards to business parking. So this is different. We're talking business and residential now. So this is the first that we've really been able to hear from the residents in this area. So does anybody else have anything else that they would like to add? Okay, so who would like to come up to speak first?
So it's on this.
I'm sorry, your name, what's your name?
Michelle.
Michelle Byers. Okay, yes, ma'am. Thank
Like
you.
how he mentioned, I have 2 toddlers, which is scary already to park on the street, even when it's right in front of the house. And I'm a dog trainer, so I'm constantly like dogs in and out, which like, that's my own personal responsibility. But it just feels really unfair. Like they obviously started their business knowing where it was, knowing that all these people live here. I don't see how it was even reasonable to, I don't know, propose this. Like, where your business is. And honestly, like I come and go constantly. I'm in and out, in and out, in and out. They're only open until 3 PM. I've never once seen an issue, seen somebody like park far away to go to their business. So I don't even see, I feel like there's no problem and this is going to create a problem. Like, because we're all going to be playing hopscotch, switch your cars around, ridiculous. And there's not even an issue. Like, I've never seen, has anyone ever seen somebody walking to the restaurant from far away? Like, I don't think I've ever seen all the spaces full.
Well,
There doesn't-
actually, I have seen more trash coming up
Yeah.
my front yard
Yeah.
than the cafes.
So I guess like on a personal note, I have small children, I have dogs. It would be highly inconvenient for this to come into effect. And then as a collective issue, I just think it's completely unfair to even propose it. And I truly don't feel like as somebody that's out here constantly, I haven't seen an issue. I don't work there. I don't run the business, but as an onlooker, it doesn't seem to be a problem. It feels like we're creating a problem if this were to pass. So that's all I wanted to
All
say.
right, thank you very much.
Ask clarification,
Yeah.
with the possible exception of Mr. McLean in the back, who's on the same side and right down. As I'm looking at the Google Street View, there's 4 on-street parkings on that side of the street, 4 on-street parkings in front of the church. Does anybody, with your possible exception, does anybody else park in those spots to get to your residence? And what I'm trying to gauge right now is if council wanted to consider
One's in front of the building and one's in front of the church.
not on Walnut Street.
Yeah.
Or not on Market Street. On literally just the block that the cafe is on. There's 4 spots starting there and going down 5 spots.
5 on one side, 4 on the other.
And then the spots in front of the church. Does anybody park in those? Because what I'm trying to gauge right now for council is maybe the area is too wide and it just gets restricted.
And we also talked about hours and days, which
Yeah.
aren't in this ordinance at all.
There's no reason
6
to 30.
Yeah, that was my point.
It was like 6 to
Yeah.
30, Monday through Saturday or something.
What
like
is
that.
the point of the ordinance at all? Why are we even wasting discussion on this? When you have big water problems, my animals won't drink the
Because
water.
A business
And-
owner brought us a problem and asked us to look into.
And we've had to talk about it 4
I
times.
know, but the business owner really should have addressed this prior to getting the permits to have the business there in the first place.
We have Edward Jones,
And
who is right in front of me.
And the
Not
thing about
an
it is
issue for him.
and you're only talking about those spaces in the intersection, like, let's talk about those spaces in the intersection. But what you do there is gonna impact us all the way up the street. It already does. So what you're talking about is just gonna be, well, it's only gonna impact those residents that are parking in those spots right now. But that is not actually,
So help me understand, if council makes those spots just on that limited area, 1 hour parking from 6 AM to 3 PM, so those 8 or 9 spots, how does that affect your parking as you go up north?
It-
of that street?
it totally varies. It totally varies because we get the church having their things, their activities all week long. And so they'll park wherever, they'll run down the street to the cafe or to the other cafe or to the other cafe. And then everybody's constantly like juggling spaces. So if you put 1 hour parking down there in that center part, anybody that's displaced by that, say somebody has a nurse coming, a visiting nurse coming, and they park there, or say they have, I don't know, there's all kinds of circumstances that can happen, but the point is that there isn't a problem right now. And by putting this 1 hour parking, this restriction down there, first of all, I don't know who you think is gonna enforce that, but because I'm sorry, I would rather see my police enforcing better
Actual
things,
crime.
right, versus parking. And secondly, the thing about it is, once we put this into play and we see all the repercussions that happen from it, now we have to try to undo it. And I just don't see that there's an issue, even for the businesses. And I don't understand why we're wasting effort on this. The business brought you a proposal for this. I understand that they think that nobody should be able to park there, but if there's a car that's parked there for more than an hour and it's impeding their business, most likely it's a resident that's parked there. So by helping the business to say, oh, you can't park there for more than an hour, you're actually impeding a resident.
You're respecting the business more than the residents.
It is, yeah, and that's the conflict we have, and so everybody has the background. At the end of last year, I started having meetings upstairs with the business owners because we don't have public parking except on the street. So what I have been trying to encourage the business owners to do, because especially in the summer, we do get parking problems up at this corner. We've got the Fox and Mulberry Bakery that's open and they've only got on-street parking. So I've been trying to encourage businesses to cooperate with each other. For instance, the churches are there on Wednesdays and Sundays. Why can't?
And Thursdays.
Thursday, but
And Mondays.
And whenever there's a special.
Okay, I get it. Let me explain. My idea is, why can't Farmhouse Cafe patrons park in the church parking lot Monday and Tuesday in the mornings? Or
We've
Friday
been
mornings?
asking them to share parking lots.
And so, what?
We wanted them to share spaces.
That's what I've been trying to get them to do.
They don't do it.
I know. That's my problem. I've been trying to get them
So
to.
you're just trying to make policies to make us play shuffles?
No. I'm trying to get the
So, but it's
businesses to
not-
cooperate so that it helps all of the businesses in the area, which eventually helps the residents as well, because then it allows more parking for people visiting those businesses and takes it off of the street and off of your residential areas in the mixed use. Because we have, like I said,
It's not gonna take it off that area. It's
But-
not gonna take it off the
but
residential.
that's what I've been trying to do. Unfortunately, the businesses, some of them have wanted to do it. Some of them, quite frankly, have not. And so that's what I'm stuck with, trying to facilitate that.
But I mean,
that's not our problem.
honestly, is it not on that business owner
Anyway,
to make sure he has?
I mean,
for his
I'd like
customers?
them to show me proof that right now, the way the parking is, like the first come, first serve, you squeeze in there, there's a spot. I'd like them to show me that it's impacting their business. They knew what they were setting up with when they established their businesses. Let's be clear, 3 cafes within what, a block of each other? Is absurd. But so they already have competition from each other.
If I may, so I attended both of the business meetings. Initially, the business requested and what they proposed and they wanted initially was a handicap parking place. And that was because there are a number of older people that go to the business, as well as they're doing the Meals on Wheels. Okay, so we can talk about that as well. I think that's fair enough to understand that they wanted one. They talked about
I think
wanting
even two is
some
reasonable.
handicap parking. I'm sorry, what?
I think even two handicap spaces would be reasonable, but not the whole street of 1 hour.
So I think, again, it was proposed. Nothing has gone beyond that. Right now, this is conversation. That's why we need your input. We need your information. So with that, you're bringing up a lot of very good points, and that's what we need to hear. So we haven't made any final decisions. None of this is moved forward. So I feel like I personally would like to go talk about what we initially talked about first, which was handicap parking. That was the very first thing. It's in my notes, which you received. So I don't know, but I know that was initially what was brought up.
And I've discussed that with her, and she would rather not have that because that one space is dedicated to nothing but.
But it's one space.
And I'm not sure there's really a space there that is going to be.
That's true. Then you're-
Legally made.
Then you're
easy.
giving up a space.
There's not a van accessible.
Well, and yes, I brought that up too, because it is concerning on that street with people
It doesn't really
going
work.
down there.
And now everybody's deprived, everybody who's not handicapped is deprived of that space if there's not a handicapped person there.
When this voice is concerned, are they stating that there's this like huge issue? Because truly it doesn't, unless I'm just oblivious and not here when it's coming for people. I've never seen the street. Never.
Always 6 or 8 spots.
Like, I don't understand where the issue lies.
And right now, our street is open to public parking. They can park on our street and go down to the cafe for 30 minutes and come back, and there's no enforcement.
So at this point, Mayor, so we're hearing a lot of conversation. Where does this need to be continued? What is our next step?
And talk to them.
Yeah.
And nobody talked to this. I mean, I know you guys.
I know yeah, he's talked to her, and I know she sent a message to someone saying she couldn't be here tonight.
She sent one to me. And then I suggested she had something further to send an email, but I'm not seeing any emails.
But this is, so I mean, it's an ordinance that's on for a first reading tonight.
Right.
So it's still in committee. It gets read once, so there's at least 3 more council readings of it, plus at least 1 more safety committee meeting if you want it, because of how it will fall.
So this really was the first time hearing from the rest of the public. So
Well, by the same token, that the business should have made parking spaces available. Shouldn't the landlords make parking spaces available, like off-street parking?
But there isn't physically space.
I understand. But the ones on the street are for all of us to share. They belong to all of us.
Exactly.
The person that lives in that house.
If we leave that spot and
Someone
go
park-
somewhere,
Right.
we go somewhere, somebody takes our spot, we are forced to park somewhere else, which we're okay with.
Right.
But now we're being told we gotta do it every hour?
And switch my car.
Are you kidding me?
yeah, I think you need to realize what we're just saying is this was really brought up. So it was the beginning of a conversation. We've heard a lot of very useful information. Is there anybody else here who wants to contribute?
I have not been deeply involved in this, so I want to just make sure I'm clear. I remember when the cafe went through the process with Terry here. So I'm assuming based on our policies, at that time, it was deemed that they had enough parking. Is that correct?
So the zoning code, if you're on a lot that has private parking available, you have to have so many spots. But in areas like this where it's mixed use and there's no private parking lot, here, the Pine House, Fox and Mulberry, if there is street parking available, that's what it is.
And I think that what changed was that the cafe took on Meals on Wheels. Now, is that every day or is that just certain days of the week?
That I don't know, and
I thought it was.
I think
Monday through Friday.
I think it's every day, because
I
it
think
was
it's
out,
every
it was out at
Friday.
it was out the other restaurant at Mama's.
Okay, so that's what I was trying to clear. So the reason, I mean, I think there's some questions about why, what changed, and I think that what has changed is they took on Meals on Wheels. And I think they're looking at older. And I know that I saw one thing about going and pick it up and then you leave, but I don't think you do that. I think you go, they actually offer them in the restaurant. So,
Like a voucher kind of thing.
These items.
yeah,
okay. Okay, that's all. I just wanted to be clear. Okay.
Don't get me wrong, folks. I want Baltimore business to succeed. Just don't know why it's all our calls.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mullin. Mr. McLean had his hand raised.
Thank you, first of all, for taking the time to talk to us about this. I'll give you just a little bit of feedback. I did not expect a dialogue. I thought it was more like we could give statements, so I'll make it really quick. I'm Philip McLean. I live at 2 West Market Street. I don't think the issue rises to the level of requiring changes to village ordinances, nor do I believe there's compelling reason for the village to make any changes at this time. I've submitted several emails to council and Mr. Mayor and Chief. I believe you were on some of those as well. Expressing my concerns already. My most recent email, I included a spreadsheet showing the percentage of available parking spots for the 10 spots in front of my residence on that portion of West Market Street, along with photos covering each half-hour increment between 6 a.m. and 3 p.m. Parking was widely available during those hours. I think this evidence adequately demonstrates that there's not a compelling reason for the village to restrict our liberties for parking in this area. In a prior email that I sent to council, I informed that I would initiate a discussion with the business member or business owner that issued the complaint and attempt to resolve the issue. Although we did not necessarily agree with each other on the facts, I believe we both have taken actions that I think will resolve any alleged parking issues. The employees of the business no longer park in the area, and that was a contributing factor. Their own employees were parking in these spots. And so they've taken action and they spoke with their employees and they no longer park there. And I have moved my vehicles as well. So I'm restricting my own liberties and refraining from parking there because I don't want an issue with them. As my neighbor, I'm a pretty private person, but I want to live in a good neighborhood and not have any issues with anybody. And just in conclusion, I don't think there's any parking issues at all in this area or any compelling reason for the village to oppose any restrictions. If there was an actual issue, I think it has been resolved. So I appreciate your time and thank you.
can I ask you one question?
Yes.
I think we've talked about a lot of it tonight. You did a public records request. Do you still want that's fulfilled, or based on this, are you good withdrawing? I just, before we put it all together, if you're good with what you've heard and everything, if you want it fulfilled, that's not a problem. We can do that. I just, if after the dialogue tonight,
It's
good.
I would say not at this time would I want to withdraw that, because I kind of want to well, it seems like you have these business meetings, right? And they're not necessarily open to the public.
They were all open to the public. They were advertised on the website. They were advertised on the sandwich board in front of the thing, and residents came to them.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. I looked at the village website and it said it was an invitation for the business.
Well, the idea was to talk with the businesses, but they were open to the public.
So I took it as the village actually soliciting complaints, and that might not be the case.
No, it was actually just a conversation.
But it did mention in some of the websites to come and talk about parking issues.
Mhm.
And I thought that was kind of divisive of the village to pit residents against businesses. And it doesn't seem like that's the case.
What I was explaining was trying to get the businesses to agree to share their parking, but
To help residents.
so that's fine. No, because we have a reasonable time and to reply to that. And so before we put it all together, I just wanted to see. So, but If you're not drawing it, that's fine. We'll just finish putting it together and get everything.
Yeah, I kind of want to know who was at the meetings, like
Yeah, we have a list.
how many council members were there, how many members of the committee were there, type stuff. It's just,
And
When's the next one?
has it been?
I don't think we have.
Okay.
No, you're more than welcome.
so just you two were, okay, that answers my,
There was what, only 5 people there, total 6?
Yeah, the
At the
second
last
meeting,
There was only
a handful.
the two of you, a resident,
Fine House, Maria.
Pine House and Farmhouse.
it's
And
just,
Amy was there.
I feel like it was my vehicle that was kind of being brought into, and I moved it, and I will. I have no issue with moving
And
it.
I think the intent, really, we were trying to talk to the businesses to make sure that between the churches and the businesses, and obviously maybe we can somehow put it there to the residents, just anyone who's interested, because parking, we know it's something we're working on.
And so if it was my vehicle, I apologize to everybody here. Because it seems like I might have started this and,
That's all right, that's all right.
I don't want the
I don't
issue.
even know.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
All right.
I think we as a big white man, we appreciate everybody coming in and giving your side of it, because we've heard the business and now we've heard you guys, and we will take all of that in consideration.
But believe it or not, this is how ordinances are.
It is.
supposed to
Yeah, we would
be
prefer
made.
that.
Yeah.
We don't try to do anything under cover of darkness.
We prefer this as opposed to passing it and then finding out that there's all these issues with it afterwards. We actually prefer this.
I just wanted to clarify about the comment of like, you know, shared spaces. I don't think any of us have an issue with having a park 4 spaces away from our house. The issue is the 1 hour restriction. It's completely reasonable to walk into a restaurant for 1 hour, but when you go home, nobody's coming out of their home every hour to move their vehicle, even if it's 3 or 4 times.
Which almost begs the question, if they're all cafes. So in theory, none of them are gonna be having anybody park in a spot for more than an hour.
And as Rick said, the original motion included from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and that wasn't included in this first draft. So it was during those business hours, but you're still home at those times.
Yeah, we have no parking, like literally at our house, we don't have anywhere to park.
Possibly North Walnut was excluded and then there's not a problem for you, right?
She doesn't park on the.
Miss Tiva?
We live right here, like literally in our house.
Where will the next draft of this ordinance be released?
While they get done through council, so council will discuss it. If they want to make any amendments to it, they can do it in committee or in council, and then the village attorney makes those amendments and distributes them for the next meeting.
Okay, so that's not published anywhere online for us to read before we attend the next meeting. So there's not so much misinformation next time.
The draft ordinances typically aren't.
Can I just say something really quick?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Don McClam at 207 West Market. So I think that when the council does take this into consideration, I think what they really need to keep in mind is that how it is and how it has been, there's been 0 issues. There's always plenty of parking. Phil provided all of the evidence showing there's never not a spot open. And by you guys limiting even 1 spot, it will cause a trickle effect, or even if the 1 hour doesn't get to that.
It sets expectations for other businesses that they can have the same thing.
Well, but it's just, the problem is that there's not a problem. There is not a problem.
This is gonna create.
The images that Mr. McLean submitted that I viewed, it was interesting to see that, because obviously I wouldn't have that hour by hour kind of account. It did help provide me with information that I didn't have prior, so.
That's all I just,
Is there anything else?
Well, I'm gonna go into a different topic, but as far as Mr. Fuller's issues about the alleys, would it be possible to put alleys are something we need to speak about. I talked to Jerry about it a long time ago, so it's possible to put that on the service committee for next time.
Parking on alley?
It's not necessarily parking, just alleys in general. Abandoned alleys.
What's the difference between that? Is that what you want to talk about? That's one.
There are some alleys that, and I'm wondering if The alley beside me, I was told was not the villages. And it is totally villages. And so I wonder, I know that there have been maybe abandoned, well, I don't know, there's questions whether something's been abandoned or not abandoned. And
We have to check. It's a good thing to add on service because we have alleys that were created by residents driving to the back of the property that aren't really alleys, but they've been going on for 30 years.
so
So
I
now they're
suspect
alleys.
that if, I suspect that if
But
somebody,
theirs is an alley.
I suspect that somebody, if they told them that it's okay to park there, that they're saying it's not a village alley, is probably what's happened. That's just my
But
suspicion.
I'm pretty sure Joe, we pulled that map up. I'm pretty sure we know that's a village alley.
And still on the topic of safety and on the topic of parking, but a different part of town, the van was hit a week ago. My understanding is the engine has been blown in that van for 3 months and it's been sitting there the entire time. And that the insurance canceled. So when we talk about people taking advantage of our on-street parking, ease of use is being abused right around the corner where everybody's being deprived of parking spots. So the village really does need to take back ownership of its on-street parking. Do we want to work cooperatively with everybody? Absolutely. But we need to kind of highlight the people who are really abusing it and abandoning vehicles on the public street. And in a sense, that's what happened there. Like when you leave town for months, you don't leave your car on the public street. You got to find a place to store it.
And we're stuck on the police side that if it's parked on the street, we're very limited. We're limited. I mean, if it's got a tag violation, there are things we
Technically, it's on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, isn't it easier to address that vehicle than address vehicles that maybe are stopped in a spot?
Absolutely.
Why don't we put a
Those
stop
signs
on
are
the
really
vehicle
more of a
ordinance?
free suggestion. Enforcing them, as we've all discussed, is nearly impossible.
But yeah, the enforcing it, whether it's 1 hour or 3 months is where.
It's a helpful recommendation.
Yeah.
It's really not much of a law.
One person took it down.
I would put it right up on the sidewalk
We
for us.
controlled everyone's parking spot.
There's more than one.
Yeah.
There's lots more than one.
Are the police department allowed to chop?
No.
Okay, so why in a 1 hour parking? I'm sorry, I'm just sitting here and
So the idea of chalking has changed. They used to be able to chalk and then the court ruled that it's a violation of Fourth Amendment rights to actually physically touch the car and chalk. There are now other things that you can do, software programs you can get to take a picture and it's close. I was telling someone earlier, if you go to downtown Newark in their square, it's now parking by zone. So they give you 2 hours in the downtown zone. So if I park on one corner for an hour to go to court there, drive to the other side of the square to go to the county administration, I spend 2 hours there. That officer that put my plate in says I've been in that zone for 3 hours, so I get a ticket. The problem is that starts to get really close to permit parking. And when I did that on living on campus, it's not something that fits well in the small village. So coming up with a way that we can have the officers utilize some way to mark cars and whether or not they move, because it's possible you drive by and the car moves and comes back and parks in the same spot and it looks like it hasn't moved. There are parking enforcement is difficult these days. It's that court decision. There are things out there we can look at, but as someone else mentioned, we prefer the officers out doing other things, and hopefully most people pay attention to strong encouragements or
Helpful
something.
suggestions.
Helpful suggestions of the limited parking. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
What if we went over there and just covered it in a sheet or something? Maybe they'd get the hints.
Shoe polish.
That too.
So, okay, I think if there's nothing else, I'm gonna move on to the next part of our meeting. Is there anything else?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for listening.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You say the council.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I think next is the 2023 goals.
Get through this week and let you know.
Well, I will say,
No more of expectations.
I feel like I need.
I will say
That's all I
this, the old goals used to be 0 workplace accidents and 0 fatalities.
Yes.
Good
That,
stuff.
that was the goals of the past.
Oh, do we need to change those a little?
No.
Good.
Good goals. Good goals. We'll keep those for sure.
Okay.
Those were
add
the
to
goals in the past, and then, and they report no workplace accidents, no fatalities, and
Okay.
that's what they were.
100% attendance. Let's go for it.
All right, very good. Okay, so all goals have been met thus far.
Yes.
2023, very good.
For day one, yes.
All right. All right, then let's move on to reports then. Village
That was
administrator.
it.
Okay.
No, seriously, today was a good day. Brian and Missy both very helpful. Mayor came in very helpful also, absolutely. Spent some time with, as you realize, with Scott and discussing things there. Also spent some time with Brad and with Tim. And things are, there's some challenges ahead, but what we're seeing with water treatment, I think we're going to see with wastewater. We're going to start to see some things happening there, very positive. We've explored some opportunities possibly for grants and possibly some loans. It's a source that I don't think has been accessed by the village before. It's not a big secret, but we'll look into it more before we can actually decide whether or not it's something that's available to us. So it's all legal, so don't worry about that. But I think looking ahead, and that's what I've been telling everybody all day, just keep looking ahead, take care of the issues that we're confronted with, and just keep moving forward. So,
Thank you, sir.
be more next time.
Thank you. All right. Police department report, please.
Well, the new guy got all the good stuff, so. Couple things. Today we participated in a active shooter scenario training drill, that involved us, the fire department, and all of the schools, their administrators, and, including the superintendent. And went down and observed. Basically what happens is officers, fire, school personnel are put into a scenario that they have no idea what it's going to be. They're then handed this scenario and they have to work their way through it. What will we do? How do we do it? What resources do we have? Those sort of things. So there were 3 different scenarios. They went really well. We were really happy with the cooperation that we worked together with the fire department for those sort of events. So we're kind of all on the same page when we get there, which is huge. We talked about some equipment that we're going to have to look at down the road currently because of the radio system that we've been mandated to go to. We don't have interoperability with the fire department as far as being able to crosstalk with them. But there's a way we can get around that, and I'm going to be working with the fire chief trying to sort that out if we can get that taken care of. Currently, as of today, we are effectively 3 officers short. Officer Cook resigned and has left employment. Obviously, the deputy chief is now the VA, and we had to take one of the patrol officers to slide them into an SRO position because we're contracted to fill that position. And bluntly, I think that's a very important place to make sure that we have coverage.
And I can tell you, she was out there at 7 a.m.
Yeah, she's a hardworking officer. With that said, we're actively, I've run 2 ads so far for officers. There just aren't any out there. I don't know what to say. I've talked to several other agencies. They're telling me the same thing. There just are not any officers out there, or anybody out there at this point in time. People that have jobs are not looking to leave those jobs. So trying to entice somebody to come from another agency to us is probably not something that's going to happen. I'm looking for and trying to find somebody that is perhaps recently retired, who may want to supplement, come in and pick up, an after work job, after retirement job. We're still, I'm going to be meeting with the mayor here next week, hopefully, and we're going to be talking about the deputy chief position, where we go with that. That's a much more complicated hiring process. Because the deputy chief has to have the same credentials that the police chief does. The purpose of having a deputy chief is if something happens to me or I leave, that person can instantly step in. We use Ohio Association of Chiefs of Police standards for our police chief and our deputy chief, which is you have to have X number of years of service at a command level. You have to have a 4-year degree, and you have to have advanced training like National Academy, Northwestern School of Command, and something like that goes along with that. And there are people out there. It's just a matter of locating them and coming up with some sort of a vehicle that would bring them here, I guess would be the easiest way to say it. Worked with the school on a safety grant through the state. And ultimately what that did for us, our part of it is all of our SROs are going to be going, we'd already planned this, but all the SROs are going to be going to Cincinnati for a week for the school resource officer certification and training school. And this grant will pay 100% of that cost. So we're not going to have to pay that. It also picks up 100% of the cost for their room while they're there. The only expense we'll have is whatever we decide on a per diem sort of thing. So that's worked out well. Out of that same grant, currently of the 2 vehicles that were purchased by the school board for the use of school resource officers, only one of those currently has a radar unit. And as you know, we heavily enforce the school zones. So some of that money from that grant is going to go to purchase a new radar unit to put into the other car, which will double the ability to enforce. And just so people know, those radar units are pushing $4,000 a piece now for front and rear cone radar units. So it's like anything else. You could take this can and put police on the side of it, and it's now $37.50. So it's just doing fire the same way. So other than that, hope to report back next time that we've got some applicants that have come in that we're looking at. I had a phone conversation with a gentleman from Belfry who recently retired and is looking to relocate to Central Ohio. And he is supposed to meet with me next week. And we're going to talk a little bit about him coming on as a full-time patrol officer for us. And with that, that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Chief. All right, old business, parking issues at the corner of Mulberry and Maine.
That was up here. We kind of hit on it a little bit. So I will say after, because it came in at finance, I did, when I drive my little car, I didn't do this as much, but I did notice when I'm driving the truck or I have the trailer behind it, I do crowd that center line because it's narrow. But I also don't know that the road is any narrower there than when you cross the tracks and our Albert's business and the home's right there. So I don't know. And I still kind of, to Rick's point, owners and landlords have to bear some responsibility here. And Mike has the opportunity to increase parking and was going to do it, but for the demolition permit fee.
Well, and they also don't understand that, all we can do is tell people what they can't do. We can't really tell people what they can do.
Right.
And so I don't think anybody wants us to make it no parking for everyone's safety.
Exactly.
So I'm not sure where we go from there. We talked to the state. I think Tim contacted the state about possibly moving the yellow line over.
We can look at moving that a little bit.
It is off center.
We can look at moving that a little bit. The next time they come down and pave, We can talk to them about moving the Devil's Strip and just moving the curb right to the edge of the sidewalk. But then that moves the cars a foot closer to the sidewalk. That puts them right on the sidewalk, which is no different than you have right here anyway. But because it's a state route, like I said, we're also a little limited in what we can do.
If I may,
Yeah.
you remember what the curb does, the sidewalk does on that side of the street, and I think that creates a more of a problem for the
It's an
narrowing.
illusion.
Yes,
Yeah.
and from the end of where the Pine House is forward, it's a certain width all the way, like you say, across the railroad track. And it probably changes down towards Cliff Street, but coming up to it, it's definitely wider.
Yeah.
You can look at it. You can see
And
it's
if there's
definitely
no
wider.
one parked in front of the bank and you're just cruising up the edge of the sidewalk and then all of a sudden there's a car right there.
That's how it happened, officer.
Yeah. So I guess we kind of keep it on old business and monitor, that way we can stay on top of hearing back from the state to see if they can restripe it, or in the next project, it'll probably be when they paved that house last 2 years ago.
Right after we ran the water line out of the school, we heard them ran the water line out of the school.
Yeah, because they did Market Street during COVID.
Right.
And
That's that one.
So this one might actually be due to pavement.
They could probably do rumble strips on the center line too. So people going southbound know they're stopping.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about, all we do is ask that they do that. But the only thing it would really eliminate is to eliminate the parking.
Right.
Because like,
We want that. So we can leave it on and we can let the new VA get to work up with ODOT and figure out when we're going to get repaved and some options.
Sure, the VA will love that.
we could get well attended, maybe
All
we
right.
could make a motion that we eliminate parking there and see what they have to say about it.
Oh, input then. That's what it's all about.
I guess we're gonna move on to new business, farmhouse cafe parking ordinance 2023-07.
Well, I think one thing we need for you to kind of talk. We're on one side, we gotta hear the other side.
Do you want her
At
to,
the next council
at the
meeting,
next council?
because yeah, our next meeting not a month away.
Not enough left.
Be nice if she can make it here.
So we can reach out and ask her to come to council.
I don't think we don't know exactly what she wants,
Right.
and I think we should know that.
I mean, can we just table this ordinance? I mean, do we not?
No, we got 2 more meetings. It's not, we can table it after 2 more. It's not hurting to leave it on.
Yeah. If it doesn't hurt to leave it on.
But it's,
And that way it
keep
stays-
talking about it.
Stays on this discussion.
So we're just gonna leave it here as new business discussion
We'll
or
move it to
old business, old
It'll
business
revert to old
And then
business.
we'll invite her to the next council
to
meeting.
discuss, okay. All right, so we're moving forward here, Main Street Business District striping.
That was,
We just kind of talked
yeah, we
about
kind of talked about that.
Marking spaces. I thought.
Marking spaces.
Okay.
Marking parking spaces.
All right, so we've also talked about that. All right, so I guess we are ready to say that our next meeting is gonna be held fourth Monday in May for safety, May 22nd at 6:45, or immediately following service. Is there anyone who'd like to move to adjourn? Being so adjourned, 7:27.
3 minutes and we'll start.
Okay.
Oh, God, I hate these days. But now I gotta really listen to them.
We gotta do this every 2 weeks.
No, just a second before.
Man, you got an easier one tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
We're not recording now. Yes.
See where it says right on point?
He's always like.
Good, sir. How you? Welcome aboard. Thank you.
Every time I'm like, I bring my son.
What the hell?
So my daughter graduated. You know what? So bad. I've been on, not that I had an issue with this in general, but I noticed kind of a change in how they I kind of noticed a change in attitude. And then I said, so what does that tell you? I know. And she's like, yeah, I talked to Ashton today. It's because his mom Andrew called her today. So yes. So Andrew called and so. He's gonna, he is supposed to, young man, well, according to Nick, he's going to work. I said, okay, please keep that boy, you know, red is, you know, well, never, I just want to keep him in the shade. He's so fair skinned.
Went down.
Oh, yeah, his dermatologist has already said.
74 years old. Are you sure?
Yeah, I think I got the information I needed.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have everything out of the house and it's something.
at the end of the day, they got
Okay, thank you. Do you want me to put that right?
I will. And then I have to leave.
Yeah, I got the letter before it. You did all this, not me.
And
I just think it was a misunderstanding. I truly think some aggressive from one of the employees, and I reacted. And then they went, then we got this whole issue. I think we've resolved it. But yeah, I would love to hear from her side. And then you just don't want to get into conversation. So.
Well, I saw that.
I misunderstood what the business meeting was because I thought that was closed to the public. For business. That's what I read on the website, that they were inviting businesses. I'm like, well,
grab some stuff.
and we didn't have meeting minutes or anything like that posted. So I'm like, is it a meeting or is it an executive thing or?
I had, and I'm really, so they didn't take minutes, they were just open.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Now that I know. Have a good one. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Where's the sister? She's in a comfort room. And I said, what exactly is a comfort room? She goes, you know, there's places they put old people to die. And I said, that's a comfort room. He's called hospital. He's from Arabia. Saudi Arabia. Could be. And their English is definitely second.
From Arabia.
It's us. It is. It's us. Look, we're famous. We're famous.
I'll have to come to these meetings.
What do you think?
Is that just mean or what? Hey, Mary. I had to think of something out here. The parking problem that Mulberry and Maine has to do with the ability to help the Mulberry out on the street.
That's what it started as, and then we kind of morphed it into that up there.
I'll take the batteries, I'll recycle them. I take
Probably
them.
the signs just giving orders anyway.
Ours kept dying like every 2 minutes.
Everybody back from break? I think so. Well, all right, and we will call this meeting to order at 7:30.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, will be done. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Cosgray, Foreman, Keller, McCreary,
Present.
Reedy,
Present.
Schaffner.
Everyone's present. Move on to approval of April 10th meeting minutes. Discussion? All right, here's none, roll call.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Cosgray,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yes.
All right, next is the agenda, tonight's agenda. There is one amendment, and that would be adding ordinance 2023-09, an ordinance authorizing the administrator to enter into contract with BK Layer LLC for the North Granville Street water line and roadway improvement project declaration of an emergency. Amend that to first reading.
Okay, I'll move that we approve the agenda as amended. 1 second.
Discussion?
Keller,
Yes.
Foreman.
Yes.
Cosgray,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Reedy, and Reedy, Schaffner.
Yes.
Agenda
I need to fix that.
All right, next is visitors, and we saw visitors, nothing from Steve. You guys sitting over there, anything for council?
No, we'll have a chance later in the meeting to talk about it.
There is another visitors comment section at the end of the meeting.
You want to sign in though, please?
All right. We'll move on to administration reports. My report, of course, Brian started his VA today. Last couple of weeks have been really appreciating how hard the VA has to work with Missy and Brian texting me all the time that someone's coming in, something needs signed. So I'm happy he just started. Obviously, we've got the parking stuff that's been going on a couple of weeks, and it feels like I'm forgetting something. The water. How could I forget the water? And then the wastewater that I mentioned in service with our operator leaving at the end of the month. So it's been a busy couple of weeks, but I don't have any. We hit most of the stuff in service and safety that I've been dealing with all week. So if anybody has any specific questions, if not, I'll turn it over to Brian for his first day report.
Most everybody was here. First day went very well. Met with the mayor and staff, and I'm really feeling good about what's going on with the water system and the wastewater. I think we're definitely heading in the right direction there. A lot of good things I think are going to happen in the near future and already have. So we're starting to see some improvements there. Be able to mention something, I don't know if I should do this now or not. Arbor Day is coming up. There's a proclamation that they would like to get from you for that.
Already on top of it.
All right, sir. That's all I have. Question. Please.
Thank you. So it was kind of a rough trial by fire day in court this morning. So luckily Brian's already familiar with it. When I think you're meeting with staff on Wednesday to go over stuff in more detail.
Yes.
So, and then, like I said, it helps that you are familiar, but then once you get a little knee deep in stuff, we'll follow up with more stuff. All right, Brian. Brian with an eye.
No, the only thing I'm going to add on top of that is I need to train this guy a little more because he's got a lot to learn. Just kidding.
You'll never hear me complain.
3 new pieces of legislation on for first reading. The first one, 07, is an ordinance amending the traffic control map. No emergency language on that, so that can go through 3 readings. Second piece of legislation is resolution 2023-08, which is electing the standard allowance permitted to be designated as revenue replacement and expenditure of coronavirus and local fiscal recovery funds. Brian, that it doesn't have emergency language. Does that need to be passed tonight?
Yeah, you said. Because.
Well,
I included emergency language in it.
It may, depends on how soon we're gonna get started on the Washington Street project. I think we have to move along quickly on that. But if you're getting the bids, because every transaction requires a resolution that makes reference to this resolution.
You say you need that packed before.
I think
9, so.
What's that?
You say you need to get it packed before 2023-09.
No, that was my mistake. I thought.
Oh, well, I get it.
Yeah, no, 09's
OPWC.
But there again, this one doesn't really spend the money, it just authorizes.
That is true. It could probably go 3 readings. It's got emergency and it'll go in effect right away. How? Let it go.
Okay.
And if something comes up in the meantime where we have to move on it, then we can always do it.
Yes.
And that's what we said about the other one as well.
Yes.
And then the third piece of legislation on for first reading is 2023-09, which is the ordinance authorizing the VA to enter into a contract with BK Layer LLC for the North Granville Street Waterline and Roadway Improvements Project. That does have emergency language, but it's my understanding that can go through 3 readings and then be passed at the third reading. Correct, Brian?
We're gonna go through the 3 readings unless we deem it necessary, like to pass an emergency. We're gonna follow up with B3.
So it'll at least go to a second reading.
Yep, got it. And then one piece of legislation on for a third reading, which is the ODOT road salt contract. That's all I have.
Which does need passed tonight because it's a third reading and we're already getting reminder emails to send it.
Yes, I got a reminder email today.
Yeah,
Which I believe is May 1st.
Yeah.
Yes.
We all got that, didn't we?
Well, at least
Normally we would get it today and then they would tell us it's May 1st. So
we're ahead of the game this year.
Yeah, we're ahead of the game on that one.
all right. Moving on, committee reports, finance.
I just want to see what date it's going to be. But our next meeting will be second Monday in May.
That's May the 8th.
May 8th.
Service.
Service met this evening. We had stuff from that talk about the water plant and we forwarded the resolution on the legislation to council as well as with the contract for bidding out 23. Our next meeting is May 22nd. 16th.
And safety.
Yes, Mayor, we met this evening and we had very in-depth conversation in regards to parking here in the village. That pretty much was most of our meeting. Our next meeting is going to be held May 22nd, immediately following service.
All right. Rules.
Mayor, we did not meet tonight, but our next meeting is at the finance on May 8th.
Means we safety report, but
Just briefly, we're in the process of trying to replace some officers that have left. We've identified some grant money that's going to save quite a bit of money for us. And right now we started our training time for all the training mandated by state law.
all right. Fire board. Oh, wait, you got a question?
Yeah, I just kind of remind all I got Memorial Day. The VA will do something. I don't know, we'll do what we did last year, or we'll get a little older, you know. So but I'll get back with you. But we'll do something.
Just let me know.
Last meeting was held this past Thursday, April 20th. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend that one. Our next meeting is May 18th. And unfortunately, I can't attend that one either. But I wanted everybody to know that they are having, before the meeting, they are having a 50 years of paramedic service celebration. That's at 6:30 at Station 610. And perhaps since I can't make it, if anybody else wants to maybe stop by, that might be nice.
What's the date of that?
May 18th at 6:30, Station 610.
Anything further? Planning and zoning. We haven't met since the last meeting. Our next meeting is set for May 11th. Brian and I went over a couple of, there are inquiries, but we don't have any applications in yet for the committee. But we all know the project we're working on behind the oil can is one that we're expecting to come in once they finalize everything. What else was there? That was the big one. That was the big one.
Yeah.
So
There's a couple of garages that are doing
yeah. So, but we're waiting on that. If they get their application in time to get notices out to everybody, that'll be on for the May 11th meeting. But we'll see, because they're gonna have a couple days left to get that in. Tree commission. I did not attend the last meeting. Did I have to cancel that? I talked to them about the trees in front of the funeral home, and they trimmed them back, and so I'll get them in contact. Actually, trees meets right before planning and zoning on May 11th, so they haven't met since our last meeting.
Didn't you talk about one time they wanted something cut down?
Yeah, so when I talked to Eric about it, he's not opposed to bringing them down and getting something more suitable for a sidewalk in there. He just doesn't know what, so we'll get the tree commission and them all hooked up and try to get something figured out. Because whatever comes out of there might also require some sidewalk repair based on how long those trees have been there, but we'll get that moving. Nothing for records commission yet. Any motions at this time? Now we'll move on to ordinance and resolutions. First reading, ordinance 2023-07, an ordinance amending the traffic control map by erecting 1 hour maximum parking limit sign at the intersection of Walnut Street, Market Street. Sponsor is Foreman.
Yeah, this is the ordinance meeting traffic control map, 1 hour parking near the intersection of Walnut Street and Market Street. There was discussion tonight. It's just staying on for second reading.
All right. So that'll come on, what do we say, May 8th for second reading. Resolution 2023-08, a resolution electing the standard allowance permitted to be designated as revenue replacement and expenditure of coronavirus and local recovery funds established under the American Rescue Plan Act and the declaration of emergency. Sponsor on that one is Mr. Foreman.
Yeah, and as we discussed earlier, this one will also just stay on for a second reading.
And then the third one is ordinance 2023-09, which is an ordinance authorizing village administrator trying to do a contract with BK Layer LLC for the Waterline project, the River Improvement project, and declaration of an emergency. Sponsored on this one also Mr. Foreman.
So this one was discussed earlier, and unless scheduling requires us to speed this up for scheduling purposes, we're going to just leave this on for a second reading.
All right. So that one will also come on May 8th. Moving on, second readings, none. Third reading, ordinance 2023-06, an ordinance authorizing village's participation in the ODOT road salt contracts awarded in 2023 and the declaration of emergency. Sponsor is Shelton.
Yes, this is an ordinance allowing the village to enter into a contract with ODOT for salt in 2023. And I moved this time to adopt.
1 second.
Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Schaffner,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Cosgray,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Reedy.
Yes.
Adoption of 2023-06. Good job, Brian, calling them.
I had to refresh my memory. I did that before pre-COVID. I don't know what happened after that.
Tabled ordinances, none. So they have any old business. Anybody have any new business? I like these meetings where we get very productive in committee because it makes council go really quick. Otherwise, we'll be talking about a lot of that committee stuff now.
I sent out, spreadsheet to everyone. I don't know if we should discuss it here, if we should do it in, or line code store.
Because we're talking employee
Pay raises.
pay raises, but that can tie to performance evaluation, all that stuff.
Well, that's not what I was
But it's
looking
not-
for.
So the pay plan would fall under rules.
Okay. I didn't know if I needed to save it for you, so.
So, yeah, we can add it to rules, and that way, anything that comes out of it, if rules decides to send anything to council, it's been through committee
Okay,
at that
all
time
right,
as well.
we'll do.
So we will put on the agenda the pay scale for rules for May 8th. Yeah. Any other new business? If not, we are to our last visitors comment section.
Thanks, James Carroll. I live in Fairview. I'm building a new house. That's my town.
It looks nice.
Inside. Well, I consider it right out. Whatever. I sent the mayor and all the council members a email on the higher revised code. Nothing against Brian, so don't take it personal. I just didn't feel that the higher revised code, that the village administrator was hired properly. I contacted you about it, and I'd also sent another email back, but I never got a response to the last email. So that's why I came in to just try to find out what it was. I was under the impression by the higher revised code that you have to make the motion.
I can't make the motion. I put forth the person to be appointed. I can't make a motion in council.
Nominate.
Nominate.
You nominate. I tried to watch the video and read the transcript, and
Yes.
it's not real well.
So I nominate. And then council has to make the motion to appoint or to accept that nomination.
That was my question. I just come in to get the clarification, but
And if I missed your email, I apologize. I've been playing VA for a couple of weeks as well, and I've had 700 emails since Saturday, so I might have missed it, so sorry.
all right, that's all I have.
Okay,
Thank you.
With that, then, any council have any last call? If not, our next meeting will be our second Monday in May 8th. Motion to adjourn.
Formally makes a motion to adjourn.
McCrary seconds.
No discussion on adjournment. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Hearing none, unanimous voice vote, we are adjourned at 7:51.